Good morning, everybody. I'm just here to set up. So if I am not talking right away, it's because I'm trying to figure out something, but it's okay. That's all right. All right. So here we go. Something didn't work, but that's okay. We're going to figure things out. If you're bilingual or a third cultural individual and a job seeker or a hiring professional and networking feels awkward, welcome to the club. You're not alone. Most job seekers are never taught how to do it well, let alone across languages and cultures. Even though today English seems to be predominantly the business language or the transaction language, uh, most non-natives will speak it, but will always hesitate because the person that we're speaking to, we know very well they could be their second, third, or fourth language. So we're very busy thinking about the full pass in the culture. So there's some challenges that can be presented in the networking. We rely too much on job onboards and get online and as be it a job seeker or a hiring professional. We're online or AI is helping us. And unfortunately, there is no feedback there. We're just like we're speaking to ourselves in a room alone. Also, networking often feels fake, awkward, forced. And what happens is that it's going to be a vicious circle because since we're applying online or we're using AI to help us with the recruitment a little faster and we're avoiding networking, it becomes a vicious circle. And for some reason, we just don't get out because we're unsure, we're scared. And on top of this, we have cultural norms that create a lot of hesitation on top of this. Can you imagine that? And unfortunately, yes, AI does filter great people, but humans hire through relationships, through trust. And this can happen at any age, any stage, any generation, and any situation. So, in today's live, I wanted to basically touch up on a case study and some takeaways from this case study. So let me tell you a story, and I hope you have some time. I'm not going to tell a long story. Back a few years ago, when I first came to Strasbourg, I was new. And I'm not much of a fan of live events. Yes, I'm kind of an introvert, although you probably say, well, Tanya, you're on here, you're not an introvert. Yeah, I'm not a fan, but like you, I got to get out of that comfort zone. So anyway, I was in Strasbourg. I was new, and I knew that going to in-person networking events has in the past been quite successful, has been really good. So I decided, here, I'm going to go. And if any of you have been in Strasbourg, it's very nice, quaint city with lots of charming, typical Alsatian architecture, and especially in the evening, it's got a charm. And this happened to have been in November, close to Christmas. And who doesn't know Strasbourg during Christmas and the Christmas market? It was just very charming. And as I was looking for the address, it was in this small, quaint little restaurant. And it was about no more than 20, 25 people that were there. The lighting wasn't too bright. It was a bit, kind of dark. And that kind of suited me fine. So I walked in hesitantly without knowing anybody really. The networking was, of course, completely pretty much in French, although knowing that Strasbourg is kind of the European capital in the heart of Europe, I was ready to speak, be it in French, in Slovenian, or in English. If the need be. So as I walked into this charming restaurant, there were already people inside talking. And as I was scanning the room around, I kind of went to the right because I noticed there was a group of people. There's like 10 people in a circle talking. So I naturally meandered to this group and hear what they were talking. And there was one person in particular who was very much talking about the frustrations of working across cultures. It was in French. We spoke in French because it was basically French business owners. And this one person who was going international and specifically onto the US American market was saying how difficult it is, not just the language, but how to speak culturalness with US Americans and how to just the how to. So the group was really talking in French, and they felt for him, and they expressed pretty much the same frustration as he did in their own ways. And so the chat went on. I didn't say much, being the new person, I didn't know until a moment in the conversation came where I thought, this is triggering me. And when something triggers me, I have to speak. And usually, what I do is to not sound awkward. I usually have the habit of being also having a Slovenian background. I can be very direct, very cold, and so I've created a smart little habit. Is basically when something triggers me, I kind of breathe in, breathe out. I wiggle my toes. You're gonna laugh at this one. And why do I do this? It brings me back to reality, so that way I don't shoot off my mouth and say something silly. So at that point, basically, I did wiggle my toes in, and I asked a question. And the gentleman kind of said something. He didn't really answer the question, and he went on talking about it. And then I asked a second question, an open question. And at that point, he said, "Oh, what do you mean?" And all of a sudden, we were kind of having a question conversation to kind of clarify, because my question was, well, what context was this in the situation that you're talking about? Because he was definitely talking about a cultural problem in doing business across cultures. And as I was asking questions, some people were petering away and not interested. And so it was just uh, this person and I who were talking, and we got into a very deep conversation. And this person kept talking and talking, and we spoke and we exchanged on a deeper level. And then I have to say, it's not always the case when I go into a networking that I strike a conversation like this. But this was really quite interesting and deep. However, we were broken up by a welcoming speech because it was time to do a welcoming speech. So our conversation naturally broke up, and we went our separate ways in the networking in that restaurant. So after the speech, I kind of went around, I mingled with other people. Yeah, and that when I mingled, you kind of say hi, you do your pitch, you do the ice breaking, you exchange business cards. Yeah, you still do business cards or and whatnot, and you kind of move along. And after a good hour, I thought, all right, I think I've pretty much done this the networking. I've met pretty much the people I wanted to. It's time to go home. And so culturally, here in France, especially in Strasbourg, it's very important that you say goodbye to people that you have spoken to in a networking function. And so the people that I spoke to, I said it was nice meeting you. Thank you very much. And those people that I didn't have a business card, I gave it to them. Or if the occasion wasn't the right occasion, I didn't. And then at the end, I said goodbye to the gentleman that I spoke to the most. And I told him it was really interesting to talk to him. And he said, yeah, that was really, really interesting. You know what? And he said, you know what? I was thinking, would you mind talking to my people at my company? And guess what? I immediately said no. No, this time I forgot to wiggle my toes and think. I immediately said no out of insecurity because it was new, because it was French. And I immediately regretted it. However, we said goodbye. We exchanged the cards. He was very correct and said, "Well, if you change your mind, here's my card. Let's keep in touch. Have a nice evening. You never know." As I left, I went out. I shed a tear. I'm not going to tell you the opposite, and the opportunity was gone. Even though we later on connected on LinkedIn, but like we all do, we connect on LinkedIn and then we forget about it. So that's the case study, or that's the situation I wanted to talk to you about. Now, what are some takeaways from this networking? Now, the first lesson that can be observed is that confidence isn't perfection, it's presence. I wasn't, I thought I needed to be perfect. And I said, no, too fast. Why? I didn't feel ready. I didn't feel like, oh, I can't speak French in front of all these people in a French company. What are they going to say? But actually, he wasn't expecting perfection at all. He wasn't me. He wasn't in my brain. He was actually opening or offering a door. And in cross-cultural settings, confidence means staying in the room regardless. And yes, I should have wiggled those damn toes and stayed really lucid, and I didn't. Especially in France, where let's talk or maybe nuanced, and not saying no that I would, as a good Slovenian, maybe let's talk would have been more appropriate. And you can choose probably another wording. You can take the card, say, yeah, let's talk some other time. Some people are really good at that. I wasn't good at that point in time in that situation. So courage is saying yes to the conversation, even when you're unsure of the language. So that's the first takeaway. Confidence isn't perfection, it's presence. Hmm. The second takeaway is start with a problem, not a small talk. Now, what do I mean by that? As I walked into that networking without knowing anyone, I connected immediately to the conversation and we talked about his real issue. We weren't even swapping business cards or giving pitches. We were really talking, well, he was talking a lot about the challenge he had, and I entered into that conversation with questions deep, on a deeper level. So here it's to learn that to start by talking about what's hard or misunderstood in your field and really talk about what is that problem on a deeper level. That's what we were doing. And we forgot about the small talk, the icebreakers, everything else that we all learn and we all have. But we forget just to sit down and be curious about this problem and talk it through and see where there's alignment. And that's where the beauty lies in job opportunities or any opportunities, be it job, be it anything. So that's the second point. Start with a problem, not the small talk. Great networks start with shared problems, not perfect pitches. And a third point is LinkedIn is a link, but not the chain. Now, what do I mean by that? We all do this. We go to networking, we may have a conversation or not a conversation. We take the card, we connect, and then we ghost. We don't keep up with people. We don't even keep up on our own profile. But here, what's interesting is to keep that link going. So that way the chain can grow eventually. Because if you don't have the link, the chain can't grow. What do I mean by link? Link means to share, what can I say, an article. What I could have done is shared an article or maybe an afterthought because after a good night's sleep, you think differently. You see with fresher eyes. You can say, "Oh gosh, that conversation I had," and I'm reading through LinkedIn. Oh, that could be a good article for him, and that could also be a good article for me, where we could share this information and go further on it. Take time over a walk, a coffee, and have a conversation about it on LinkedIn, on and off. So it's really about keeping connected. You don't have to see each other every day, every week, every month, but when you don't see each other, keep that link on LinkedIn by sharing, communicating, following each other. And then once in a while, you've got to feed it with presence because that's how relationship grow. And with relationship comes trust. And trust is so important because guess what? No AI or onboarding ATS is going to help you or speed up that recruitment. So it's humanity that moves careers forward. So, in other words, a coffee today might become a collaboration tomorrow. Don't rush the chain. Feed it slowly. It's kind of like, I would say like a garden. You can't grow tomatoes overnight, it takes time. It also takes the right season. So the same goes with networking. So again, if I were to summarize the three takeaways from this failed networking opportunity, a good opportunity in networking gone sour because I said no. Confidence isn't perfection, it's presence and staying in the room. Start with the problem, not the small talk. Start about asking question and getting really curious and interested in that conversation, regardless the language. Here, I kept on going in French. I had an accent. Yeah, they asked me about it, and well, that'll be for another life. What to do when they ask you where you come from in that accent. And the third point is LinkedIn is just the beginning. It's a link that feeds and creates a chain. And as you very well know, if you're just connecting and putting people in there in LinkedIn and then you go away and do nothing with it, nothing will happen. But when you provide after a networking, when you say, hi, it was nice meeting you. Hey, listen, we talked about this topic. I just read this morning in the newspaper, this, I think you'd appreciate it. Continue the conversation. That's what I mean. And it could be something as little as, sometimes you have conversations about, what was it the other day about baking and the temperature of baking. Maybe you heard something new with someone on LinkedIn who's a chemistry professional on humidity and how this can speed up. Share it because guess what? There's so many different dimensions to the conversation. So LinkedIn is a link, feed it and grow those connections. So I hope this little short but sweet live on networking and getting job opportunities eventually or being a hiring professional has helped you. If you're a job seeker, I'm going to include a link below to a freebie that will help you to nourish this a little bit more. And if you're a hiring manager, recruiter, or an HR bilingual and going across cultures, I would love to continue the chat, hopefully in an event, or give me a call. I hope this was useful. I hope you can find a nugget or two in this live. Have a great day. And I wanted to close with a nice citation from Steve Jobs. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. Thank you very much. Have a great day.